Welcome to the Scaling Therapy Practice Podcast. I help therapists increase their income, influence, and impact while enjoying greater flexibility and freedom through my Sustainable Therapist Empowerment Program. Let's put your mission in motion.
So step 2 is this is where you build your team, okay? This is where you hire. Step 3 is when you attract clients, but I love digital marketing. Attract the clients with digital marketing. Leverage. It works while you sleep. But here's the thing. A lot of people stop there. They're like, Nicole, help me find the clients. But step 4 is the most important. Convert clients using the consult calls, because if you pulled them in, but you're not converting them, you're wasting your tons of networking. And lastly, of course, is retention. Retain those clients with follow-up.
Are you a therapist who is looking to grow in 2025, but you just can't see yourself working more hours or raising your rates? Well, I have a solution for you that's proven to work for experts in their field. It's online courses. And I can help you create an online course that turns your expertise and your unique ability to help other people into a resource that can reach a wider audience. With my guidance, you can work fewer hours, earn more, and enjoy the freedom that you've been dreaming of. If you're interested in working with me or checking out the free resources that I have, go to coursecreationstudio.com and take my Am I Ready to Diversify quiz. It's at the top of the right-hand corner of the webpage, the big green button. Let's create something awesome in 2025 together. Hello, this is James Marland, your host of the Scaling Therapy Practice. This is the show where we empower mission-driven leaders to launch life-changing online courses. Today, I'm joined by my very special guest, Nicole McCants. She's a psychologist, retired, who turned business coach for therapists to help them scale into group practices. She has a wealth of knowledge, and she was running a group practice of one or more sites. Was it multiple sites?
Just one site with 55.
Just one site. You had 55 therapists in one site.
With 24 rooms, 7,000 square feet. Yeah, it was like a mini mall.
Wow. Did you take over the whole mall?
Yeah, just about. It was great.
Wow, that's amazing. So we got Nicole, and she now runs a service where she helps therapists grow to group practices. And I'm just inspired by her story and the resources she offers people. So we're going to talk to her today and get some tips for people who are looking to scale their practice. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's so exciting to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you have a story of how you got to where you are. You have 15 years of practice, and then you decided to change and shift directions to help coach people. I'm sure there's an interesting story in how you got there. So you can walk us back a little bit and share a little bit of your history.
Okay, yeah. Honestly, I never thought I'd be sitting in front of you talking about this because it all just kind of happened. I think people listening might just agree, like there's some things that pull you, like they're almost like happening to you. So I was in solo practice for 15 years, loved what I did. Couples, EMDR, all day long. But what happened is I had to work a whole lot to have the lifestyle that I wanted. And then one day, 2016, I became pregnant with twins. And all of a sudden, I'm like, how's that going to work? We need a bigger house, 2 high chairs, 2 crimps. Like that feels very expensive, 2 car seats. So I said, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll hire. Oh my gosh, maybe I can get some freedom and hire. So guess what I did? Nothing. I did absolutely nothing. there.
Why do you think you did nothing? What was the bottleneck for you at that point?
No, the first step, and I think a lot of people can feel that, like relate to that, where I didn't know the first step to take, that I just did nothing. Because I'm like, I know I want to do this, but I don't want to waste money. So I'm going to wait. Fast forward 2 years. Jackson and Lucas are 2 years old, and mommy is still working every single night until 7 p.m. There was one fateful night, James, that I just got home and I saw these chubby little babies waiting for their mama, looking out at me at the window. And I turned to Dan and I said, I'm hiring. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't care. I'm going to do it. The first thing I did, the best thing I did, was get a business coach. Fast forward 3 years, and 55 therapists, 7,000 square feet. But here's what I'm most proud of. It was systemized. It ran without me. It was 7 figures revenue generating. And then guess what happened? Somebody wanted to buy it. That's what happens when you build something that runs itself. It was a psychiatrist. I decided, okay, I'm going to cash out and retire. And here we are. And now I'm a business coach teaching my peers exactly how to do it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when a therapist wants to earn more money or they want to scale, the initial thought is, well, I'm just going to see more clients, right?
Yeah, totally.
Right. Which works for a time, but you run out of, well, you run out of time. Like you run out of time. And then the other way that people can earn more money, just the first, low hanging fruit, is to raise rates. So you either raise rates or see more people, but then there's still a barrier for both of those. And you hit a wall, or you hit that barrier where, like, I can't, like, what I want in my life is not lining up with my behavior.
And yes, and I think the tricky part is the evenings and the weekends we're getting to, because I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I be a mom? How do I do it all? So that's the hard part too, that people need us evenings and weekends, and that's when we want to live our lives.
Were you the main income bringer as well?
Yes. Yeah. That's
Another
yes.
That's another pressure. When you probably spent a lot of time and money to get where you are. And then when, life, but I've talked to many people about scaling, and there's almost always a crisis that happens. It's either a family crisis, a life crisis, a health crisis, a burnout crisis. Like, something happens where you can't just push through it anymore. You have to make some sort of change. And it sounded like you were like, you got to that point where, like, something has to change. I have to change here.
Yeah. And it's funny, it's either a crisis or becoming a parent, which is a bit of a crisis.
That's a crisis. That's a crisis.
And how does this even work? You know what I mean? But it's funny. A lot of people will join my coaching program to scale when they become a mom, when they become a dad. Okay. How would you?
Okay. So I have a question about that, because one of the big problems people have with when they're already maxed out with time, but then they get another responsibility is, well, where do I find time to take this course? Or where do I find time to build my business? Or where do I find time to learn how to hire new people? For me, I get like, well, where do I find time to develop my coursework and, launch that? So how would you answer that if somebody's like, I'm at a crisis point, but where do I find this time to do it?
Yeah. And the truth is, during the growth phase of growing anything, whether it is scaling to a group practice, or you talk, of course, about online courses, it is going to be hard at the beginning. You're building this like house, at the beginning, it's really, really hard. But then one day you just have to furnish. Maybe you paint the walls every 6 months. So it's hard, but that's why I needed a coach, because I'm like, I need accountability, because I will talk myself into that. I need a digital course that I get up at 5 a.m. and I can go into and just hammer out some lessons and do the things. So that's why I created a coaching program with a digital course, accountability, support that they can kind of do on their own time. I think that's really important.
So you said you hired a coach. What can you talk about that your coach, and how they helped you and what they provided?
Sure. Yes. So at first, I just wanted to be around other people who had big dreams. I always was a dreamer ever since I came from a trailer park by brains. I'm a 7-figure earner now, but let me tell you, it was a high, hard climb. I wasn't at the bottom of the mountain. I was in the valley below the mountain. And I just wanted to be around people like me, because my family wasn't, you know what I mean? So I found a coach, but she wasn't a therapist. And that was tricky, because we're so highly regulated. It was tricky because there's a lot that we aren't able to do. But yeah. So she really helped me say, okay, how do I go and build something? Because what I wanted to do is take all of my systems, all of my marketing plans and give them to my peers, which I do, but I wanted to put it in a way that, was easiest for them to digest so they can get to where they're going the fastest.
Yeah, when you talk, I have like all these ideas. I'll just try to hit one one at a time. You talked about your systems. Where did your systems come from?
Yes. So can I just talk about, I have a 5-step scaling method.
Yeah, do it.
Systems is step one, because I think people don't know where to start. And if you don't systemize first, my proprietary 5-step scaling method, step one, systemize your operation. Because if you don't, you're buying yourself a job. What's going to happen is you won't end up being a CEO of a company. You're going to end up being a CQA, Chief Question Answerer. It's not fun. So it's almost like step one is every single thing you do, get it out of your head. The moment it stays there, people rely on you and questions will be coming. And then you hire. So build the container before you fill it. And hiring is only step two.
Okay.
Do you want me to list them all
Well,
now that I've said it? Just quick.
well, you said there were 5. So go ahead.
Read them all. So step two is this is where you build your team. Okay. This is where you hire. Step three is when you attract clients, but I love digital marketing. Attract the clients with digital marketing. Leverage. It works while you sleep. But here's the thing. A lot of people stop there. They're like, Nicole, help me find the clients. But step 4 is the most important. Convert clients using the consult calls. Because if you pulled them in, but you're not converting them, you're wasting your tons of networking. And lastly, of course, is retention. Retain those clients with follow-ups. So I can talk about, if you have questions about any of them, but those are the 5 that I did again and again to 55 therapists.
Yeah. So I like to ask people about some of the challenges or mistakes that were made, because I think we learn a lot from our challenges or mistakes. So can you think of a challenge or mistake that you had to overcome as you were working, working out your process and perfecting your process here? What were some of those challenges that you overcame?
Yeah, the biggest one is that by definition, scaling, at least in the way that I help people do it, you need to rely on other people. There's no group practice without the group. And that was the hardest part because of where I came from, which I alluded to earlier. I just learned that I can only rely on myself. And then I became a boss and I had to trust other human beings, kind of strangers. I just met you a minute ago on Indeed. And here I am going to give you my reputation in your hands. And that was a little bit terrifying. So how I dealt with that anxiety was micromanaging. And I'm a recovering micromanager. I've gotten way better now, thank God. But that was hard. The trust and the exhausting micromanaging. So I feel you if you're listening to this and you relate in any way. A lot of my coaching is around giving up control, which is hard.
Yeah, that's one of the when I used to work for a virtual assistant company, that's and I talked to practice owners, that was one of the big things. Like, I built this company, I've I've I, I've scheduled every client, I've vetted every client, like I know what I want, I can sell my services, and now you want me to hand it over to, you might write a reputation over to somebody who maybe doesn't know me as well or doesn't know the system as well. That's hard to do. What are some of the things that you do, or behavior changes or maybe thought changes that you had that helps you build that trust? Like, how do you know you can trust somebody to do that?
Yeah. So 2 things. One is I teach, because I had to learn it, right? Trust, but verify. So trust, but not just blind trust. The verifying matters. So doing check-in meetings. But even bigger than that, I gave my members a 6-step hiring model. I didn't have a 6-step hiring model to find what we call a hell yeah. Like when you come in, you're like, that's a hell yeah. Like I hope they want to work with me because I'm super impressed. But, Don't trust people, trust systems. And this 6-step hiring model is a system you can trust because people are finicky. We'd be out of a job if they weren't. We wouldn't be therapists, right? People are difficult. Like, we'll just say that. But this whole 6-step model, I find gives my numbers and really helped me know that, okay, I can trust this person because I just put them through the ringer in terms of hiring them. They passed all 6 steps.
Yeah, that was one of my big. I did a lot of hiring for virtual assistants, and one of the things I learned the hard way is I can't convince myself that somebody is a good fit. Like I can't
Yeah.
gloss over some of the red flags, and that hell yeah thing was something that I eventually adopted after a lot of pain, a lot of like, oh, I can teach them, or that inconsistency, not a big deal. We can work with that. Oh man, that was so hiring was one of the painful things you learned that you got to have people that you are 100%, you hope they, just what you said, you hope they work for you,
Yeah.
and to have a system set up for you is it's going to save a lot of time. Like it's a big shortcut. Do you use behavior interview
We
questions?
do.
Like, yeah, tell me about a time when you dealt with a difficult client and you were able to calm them down in a way that they felt better,
Yeah.
and so that, yeah, the behavior interview questions are was a key part of interviewing because it separated the people who said, "Oh, I think I would do this," or "This is what I've read," into the behavior that you actually want. That kind and gentle person who can lead people, with a virtual assistant. They had to be able to contain emotions, but also get the job done in a respectful way. So, yeah. Um, all right. So one of the other systems, and I forget which step it was attracting clients with digital marketing. I think we talked about this a little bit in the pre-show. Like, I think you're really, whatever you're doing is good because I see you a lot on Facebook, and you show up in my feed, probably because I talk about therapists, or I have therapists in my podcast name. But whatever you're doing, it's working. How did you get to that point where you dialed in your digital marketing? Like, what are some of the tips for us there?
Okay. So, first of all, what I do as a coach, which will apply to the coaches listening, is different than what I suggest for group practice. So, I'll
Uh-huh.
start with group practice and then I'll circle back. But just in
Sure.
general, guys, we need to be advertising. The best thing my coach ever said to me, I had a beautiful website. He said, "Okay, great. What are you doing for advertising?" And I said, What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, how were people supposed to find your website in the middle of a billion other websites, Nicole?" And it's so obvious, but I didn't want to spend the money. But I'll tell you, those that make the 7 figures see it as an investment. I trained my brain and I trained my coachees to see not the $1,000 you're putting in Google Ads, yes, Google Ads, but because you're going to get 4 times back. So the $4,000 that you're actually going to get back from all those clients. So for group practices, Google Ads all the way. You know why? People are searching for a therapist. So lean on Google Ads. You don't need to do Facebook ads for a group practice, okay? However,
Uh,
you see my Facebook ads because for one reason, I'm so niched. I only work with psychotherapists, social workers, marriage and family therapists, only in North America, Canada and the States, and I only help them scale to a group. So Facebook ads work brilliantly because I put my ad in front of them and I target therapists, right? Which is why you saw me.
my network, probably half of them are therapists. So
There
that's
you go. The algorithm.
like the algorithm's like, oh, he might be a therapist.
Yes, yes. Yeah, exactly. So but regardless, whether you're doing Google ads or you're a coach and you want to do Facebook ads, really beginning to shift the mindset there because it will change everything.
You mentioned something that I think is hard. It's not a spend, like I'm not spending it, I'm investing in it. Um,
Can I just share
it
something about that real quick?
yes, that's where yeah, help me with that because I do lean on the, oh, do I have money for
Yeah.
this instead of the investment side. So coach me up here a little.
Okay. Yesterday in the coaching call, one of my members was saying, I'm investing $1,500 in Google Ads. She's a group practice owner. And this month I got 20 new clients. Okay. And then she said, but I don't know, because I said, double down, my friend, the 80-20 rule. 20% of what you're doing is giving you 80% of your results. Let's double your spend. Let's bring in 40 clients. But she said, because I still have to work on her mindset, she said, yeah, have what I call a millionaire mindset. And because she's like, oh, I don't have another 1,500. But I'm like, wait a minute, those 20 clients, we're going to retain them and they're going to continue coming in. So for you, James, or anyone listening, tracking. If you closely track, I'm not saying just blindly, I'm saying start somewhere. With Google Ads, you probably want to start, you could start at 500. The algorithm works faster if you spend more. It gets smarter because it's gathering more info. So just know that. And then month after month, and I give people a tracking sheet, you're gonna see, James, for yourself, like, oh wow, I spent 1,000, I brought in 4. Okay. Next month, oh, and now this month I brought in 4 again. Now I'm gonna spend 2,000. Will I bring in 8? I don't know. Let's closely track. That's what I do. That's
Yeah.
why you see my face every single day on Facebook.
And you have a lovely message. So I don't mind seeing it every day. It's so the so how do you help people? So seeing the results is probably a big mindset shift, right? Because if you're not seeing the results, well, if you don't track it, did it really happen? Or if you don't measure it,
Yeah.
how can you improve it?
Yeah.
That type of thought. Is there another way to move past that mindset?
I feel you're almost asking like, yeah, but how do I do it? Like the first one is the hardest. I can't track. So
Yeah.
I don't have any data. So for me, that's actually why I joined group coaching. So I actually do group coaching. There's a bunch of other therapists with us because that worked for me. I had to be in a room with people 10 steps ahead and see them say, oh, wow, I put 1,000 down. I'm making 4 back. Oh, I put 4 down. I'm making 8 back. I had to see multiple people and I had to relate to these people and trust them. That's what worked for me. It's like, okay, whoa, I'm seeing way too much evidence that this works. I'm just going to go a little bit in and track.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you're on your own island, or in your own blizzard or snowstorm, or lost in your own whatever you want to say, wherever you're lost at,
Yeah.
you can't see what's going on around you.
Yeah.
But if you have other people moving in the same direction, working on the same goals, you can learn from each other, and it's also faster. I bet it's also more enjoyable too, isn't it? Like,
Oh,
you have a good time in these groups.
100, right? Like it's like changing the friendships.
Yeah.
You're so inspired. Yeah. And life is more fun when you're inspired.
Yeah. Well, I'm so before we get to where people can find you, what's next for you? Like, what's some of your next big challenges, or what are you working on, or what if we're talking a year from now, what are we going to celebrate for you?
Oh, I love that. So I have a team of 15 and we have blown up this industry in the best way. Like we have just gotten really, really busy because I think there was just a need. There was really no psychologist who had grown so fast helping the others. So honestly, I feel like I'm in my sweet spot, James. I have already retired. I built something huge. So I'm literally just going to enjoy the freedom I have and enjoy helping people and being with Jackson and Lucas. They're 8 now.
Awesome. How old are they now?
8 years old.
8 years old. All right. Are they involved in any like sports or band or school or what?
Well, we have a cottage, which my group practice helped me buy. So they mostly love tubing, ATV,
Oh,
in our pool, like all that fun stuff. Yeah.
that sounds awesome. Well, I think you're using your system and the plans that you put together. Like, this is something that other people can have too, right? Like, this isn't something just for a specific group of people, or somebody who is famous, or that, or lives in a certain area. Like, it's available to people who have that mindset shift and put some systems and work into it,
If I can,
right?
with twins, with tubing,
Yeah.
and coming from the past that I did, literally coming from a trailer park and being the breadwinner with all that pressure, you, my friend, might be even 10 steps ahead of me.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Inspirational. message. I've been to your website. You have a lot of resources. Where can people find you, and what would you like them to look at
Yeah.
for support?
Well, if you're into podcasts, because you're listening to this, so you just might be, I do have a podcast called The Business Savvy Therapist, where I give all the
Mhm.
details of exactly how to grow into a group practice. And every single week, I have a free master class. So come and join me live. It is called How to Build a 7-Figure Group Practice. And I go through the 5-step scaling method in tons of detail. I'll give you both those links.
Awesome. Yeah, those will be in the show notes, and please check out her podcast and check out the masterminds. Well, Nicole, this has been a wonderful conversation. You are a wealth of information, really inspiring. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, audience, you've heard it. It's now time to go put your mission in motion.